Hi, I'm Maiga, and welcome back to Writing a Musical. It's been a while. Now, as you can see, my face is a mess, and it's because it's a perfect representation for my brain, which is on fire. With everything that happened in the last month, from my dad to the death of Stephen Sondheim and just everything in between, I have been just struggling with feeling like I'm doing good and feeling like I am just struggling, but I'm slowly getting back on it. I did stream yesterday for the first time, and I did work on the musical, just a little bit, but still just a little bit's better than nothing. And today I just wanted to kind of talk to you about the tarot card I pulled, because as you guys know, if you've been following me here for any length of time, I do use tarot as a self-reflection tool, especially when I need some wisdom. I pulled Six of Wands reversed. You can pause to read. I've been really struggling with imposter syndrome, especially about like my musical, but really in just kind of my life. I feel like I'm very blessed to live a very, I'm married to someone that I love. I can afford, at least right now, to work on my musical for the most time, part-time, and there is something that to me feels so wrong because I didn't work on it for over a month, even though I had deadlines, even though I had goals. And I'm trying to be kinder to myself and also realize kind of what I need to do and what I need to quote unquote rectify within myself. I always talk about giving myself grace, but I really don't do it that often, and I really struggle with it. And I had like a pretty traumatic experience this last month, and I'm very much like, you need to keep working, you need to keep doing this, the world does not stop, there are still dreams and things, and I'm just both like floating aimlessly, but also at the same time I am literally just pushing to success too hard. I got a card for that as well. So in reaction to that, I did a tarot card spread, and the last question for it was how to take a meaningful step forward. And the answer was to keep researching and learning about the thing that you love, the thing that you are like obsessed with, that you want to work on. I've always been obsessed with Sondheim's work. It's what got me into musical theater in the first place. So yesterday I talked to my husband about just going to the library and checking out some of his just literal scripts and listening to the cast recording and getting inspired like that. I did that in college, and it really, really helped me understand structure. But I think I'm ready now. I'm older now. I know more about form. Anyway, I'm feeling excited again, and I wanted to share that. Hi, I'm Maiga, and welcome back to Writing a Musical. TikTok fucked up my vlog from over a month ago, which I can't re-record, so now I have to record it again because I have several parts for it, and they're all integral to the process of my fucking musical. TikTok, get your shit together. It is currently the 30th of December, and I have to re-record a vlog while streaming. A vlog that I recorded on the 5th of December, which was meant for the 4th. I am fucking pissed right now. For those of you curious about what happened, I tried to do my little voiceover at the top that I usually do, and it deleted the entirety of my fucking audio. All of that vlog footage just lost. This is literally making me reconsider moving my vlogging back to like YouTube Shorts or making vlogs again over there, because the fact that I'm recording on this app and can't edit it outside of that is really fucking getting to me right now. So anyway, let me now recap what was so revelatory on that day, which was actually like the entire changing of my fucking musical. Okay, gotta calm down. Let me actually catch you up. So on that day, I reached several conclusions. The first is that I had to change the entirety of my musical because it was too long of a story to tell during the show. And unlike Into the Woods, where it successfully tells kind of a two-story musical, the beginning and kind of what happens after the big happy ending, my story didn't finish its first arc kind of in Act 1, which meant that, I had to cut it. And that was a hard decision for me to do. I mean, I have been actively plotting this musical since the 1st of August, which means that I was at that point at least 4 months into outlining hell, and I was literally going to throw my entire story out and like write a whole new story before submission on the 10th, which, spoiler alert, I actually did do. But it was a hard decision to make because I spent months on that, and to be willing to throw that away for a better concept. In my opinion, it took a lot of guts to do that, and I am proud that I did, obviously in hindsight, but in that moment it felt really scary. Also, it was absolutely pivotal to look back at the notes that I had taken with John, and because I hadn't been vlogging in November because of all the stuff that was going down, I didn't have these breadcrumbs that I'm relying on to like look back and see what ended up happening. And it was through going back into my notes that I realized that I actually needed to lean on a friend, which me in the past will talk to you in part 2 of this vlog that was supposed to be for the 4th. I am seriously considering moving out of TikTok because of this whole update that happened and the fact that I can't lay down video in a way that actually records my voice, and it's really scary. So yeah, changes. So what friend did I call, you may ask? Well, I called Save the Cat. Now, if you've been following my writing journey for a while, you know that John recommended Save the Cat to me, that I actually tried it, but unfortunately the beats just didn't click for me. There's something about not seeing the beats in action and seeing them very logically sparsed out like that just didn't work for me. So I actually went to the experts of rom-com writing, at least in English. I decided to lean on Hallmark. Now, the Hallmark structure works so well because the premise is very much paid off at the end. Is the writing good? No, but it is that comforting, aspirational, fluffy thing that you want to see. And that's definitely what I want to write, with a bit of a twist, with a bit of the subversion of the tropes by making it about people that wouldn't usually be included in those tropes. Even things like God and stuff like that gets written into Hallmark. That's all the stuff I want to cut through and subvert in my show. And now that I actually have the language to talk about it, it feels good to be able to pinpoint exactly what I want to do with my story. But let me show you the movie that I watched. So to learn the Hallmark plot points and to read about coffee shops, I actually ended up watching the movie Coffee Shop with John Lovitz is in it, which was very weird to me, but he was quite funny in it. And it ended up being really, really great in showing me the beats. The writing was not good and the acting was not great, but I actually thought some of the writing was quite smart, especially the plot reveal of the parking lot. It was good. And so instead of passively watching it, I legitimately took notes throughout the entire movie like I was in high school again, and just figured out the beats and sections that I needed to include in my story, even though I know they're going to be completely different. And again, it's about the promise of the premise. What am I setting up? What am I fighting against? And what am I giving the audience that'll satisfy the fluff, angsty thing that I want to give them? Again, this whole thing kind of feels like a fanfic to me in the best way that fanfics are written, in that it's supposed to make you feel good, but also raise your blood pressure and also make you feel like things are going to get lost. Now, I'm not saying Coffee Shop the movie by Hallmark did that for me. There was maybe 2 sections where I actually was looking at this as a viewer and being like, oh my God, instead of looking at it from a clinical perspective. But I do have to say that by having it be badly written like that, it showed me what I didn't want to do, but it was also very clear what the beats were. So there are positives to that. So shout out to Coffee Shop and Hallmark and Tubi for making it free to watch. And to finish this part 2, I'm going to be sure to mention Carson because he asked me to. So see you in part 3. Now, I know this is a part 3 to 2 already full-length 3-minute TikToks, but trust me, there's a lot to cover. I did a lot yesterday. Inspiration. So anyway, last night after I finished watching the movie with my husband, I realized that there was a lot of questions that I needed answered, but I needed an outside perspective, someone who didn't know the story as intimately as me, because I feel again, I was getting kind of lost in the sauce, trapped in the weeds, or whatever the actual expression is. So in talking with my husband yesterday, who at first was very unwilling, but ended up being, that unwillingness actually ended up being super helpful. Let me explain. He was very much why should I care about these characters? There's nothing that you've told me that makes me care about these characters. Why does Megan go to Café con Leche? What is the reason that she shows up there in the first place? And I very much was oh, well, it's because of chance. That's why she shows up there. And he's just why though? And it hit me that at that point I needed the difference between the need and the want. And through his questions of, again, like, why should I care about, like, Alejandra, just because she's Hispanic and she owns a Hispanic themed coffee shop? Is that actually enough to care for someone? Like, is that not pandering? And I realized, exactly. So we ended up coming up with this, mostly just talking and doodling as we were like sorting through ideas. But for the first time ever, truly, I have an ending. I have an ending for the show. Now, I did mean to record on this day, but on the 20th of November, it was actually my 6-month anniversary of working on this musical. And, in the 6 months and little, actually over 6 months that I've been working on the show, I've never had a functioning ending. I've always had a very clear beginning, no middle, and a very, very fuzzy ending. And for the first time, I have an ending, one that I'm actually excited about, one that I really think I can write, and that sticks to the rom-com conversion. And one that very strongly sticks to the rom-com conventions while also subverting them, which is exactly the goal that I want. And the last thing that we really talked about was the reason that Megan would go there. And the reason I decided is ancestry DNA. Now, the whole motivation for Megan for me has always been about the fact that she is not feeling connected to her Hispanic roots and trying to find her heritage. And it hit me at that point that the reason she goes to Café con Leche is because Natalie is actually her cousin, which she found through Ancestry DNA, because her mom raised her in Michigan away from her family, so she doesn't really know anyone. And that has really influenced the story more than anything. And so, yeah, those are all the discoveries from last night that I came up with. And today, I'm currently streaming the writing process, and I've written quite a bit, but that vlog will go up later. So see you in a bit. It is currently 1:58 p.m. on the 6th of December. And don't mind the way I look, because it's been a very hectic day and I forgot to vlog what I worked on yesterday during the stream, what I worked on afterwards. I also met with John for 2 hours today. So to say that we have just a lot that has happened in very little time is an understatement. So I'm going to try and catch you up on everything that I did last night, all the way up until my lesson with John. And then I have to get ready for the stream because I'm already behind like 2.5 hours, but just too much has happened. So let's start from the very beginning, after the stream yesterday. So after talking with my husband and finding out all these plot points that I talked about in my last vlog, I just did a lot of discovery writing. One of the main plot points that came out in the discovery is Alejandra's 30 before 30. This concept that she has everything she wants with the coffee shop, and there's one thing in life that she has to find, and it's someone to share her dream with, to fall in love. That is her 30 before 30 that she needs to find to check it off the list. But of course, the coffee shop turns out is not actually doing well, and everything is slowly falling apart. And then Megan comes in through her Ancestry.com thing, and it gets found out that, Megan lost her mom to the pandemic, because in this version where I was just literally just free writing whatever came to my mind, the pandemic brain was on my mind, and that's what I was writing. So coronavirus and Alejandra, the moratorium in LA, that's what she was having to pay back, my God. And the premise for the end, at least in this version, which I'm calling draft 5 of the synopsis, when it's really like the 5th version of the same story, it's a lot. It's hard to keep these strips together in one line. Is that Megan goes to meet Natalie, and it's like a situation where Megan finds out she works for Big Coffee, but she isn't there for Big Coffee purposes. She's there to figure out her ancestry, and it's through the job at the coffee shop that she's able to kind of find it by working with Alejandra, learning a little bit more about what community means and just all that good stuff. And that even though she's been denied her family her whole time and they still don't want her, even now that she's looked for them, she's found community in this new place that she's going to lose if she doesn't step up. Now, I knew that this wasn't what I actually wanted. It needed some major revisions. So again, I worked on it last night, kept talking with my husband some more, and then I came up with this. I wrote this literally past midnight, and it's just figuring out all the little beats, and they literally all came to be dead in the night. So I'll explain and talk more about this in the next vlog. So as I mentioned in the last vlog, I got some ideas to essentially put it all together the way that I wanted it to flow. And it's over 1,000 words just typing on my notes app. I got hit with inspiration at this time and just kept writing. Alejandra's 30 by 30 is done because she wants to live up to her mother's expectations. She's looking for the perfect man that any Hispanic man would love. Speaks Spanish, has a real job, just, what any mom dreams of. And of course, Rosa's gonna meddle because she has visions for what she wants her own kid to have, her 30 before 30. Megan is a wonderkin, just really climbing to the top super fast, but now that she's there, her mom's dead and she has no one to share it with. And so she tries to find community by, trying to fill out a family tree, find out her real family, and of course, her cousin, it's Natalie, baby. They have a meet cute because Alejandra hates corporate coffee and Megan represents all of that, but obviously she doesn't know. She's just wearing the apparel. It's a little bit weak here, but we'll fix that later. We'll get to it. But I think really my favorite part is Megan telling Alejandra, I wanted the taste of home I got here to be felt by those all over the country. I couldn't let my favorite place in the world, in this new world I found, disappear. Not when I could do something about it. The Café con Leche partnership could make this a reality for so many Latin families, help fund programs, etc. And then Alejandra says, you're asking me to make a deal with the devil? And Megan says, I'm asking you to take a chance on yourself and what you can give to the world. In this draft, I finally realized what I wanted to write, which I've been talking about in the last couple of vlogs. I want it to be a rom-com. I want it to be something aspirational. I want it to be a relationship that people can kind of grow up with and look at. Like, I was talking to John and my husband about this. Like, there are so many rom-coms I watched growing up in the early 2000s, but I mean, I love like 80s and 90s rom-coms, but like, one that just comes to mind is When Harry Met Sally. It's like she never really gave up on herself to find love. It just kind of happened to her. She fell in love with her best friend. And I wanted something like that, something that people can look up to and be like, I want my relationship to be like that. And that's kind of what I think is transgressive about it. It's the fact that it's a rom-com about people who aren't talked about in the rom-com space, who don't get to fall in love. So I was pretty hyped before I met John, to say the least. I typed it all up in the Google Doc. And then literally an hour before we were supposed to meet, I saw the basic structure of a romantic comedy screenplay from Masterclass, put all the beats that I had talked about in that version into it, and then sent that off to John. And I have to say, I really thought this was the final version, but see you in part 3. So in my heart of hearts, when I sent this to John, it was literally fresh off the printing press. I had finished writing the end for the first time, like typing it into it, and I sent it to him, and then we met for 2 hours. I have to say, I felt pretty confident about it. I really thought the secrets kind of intertwined with each other, that there was some stakes, especially with Rosa meddling and being like, I will pay for whatever that's affecting the coffee shop, but you have to stop talking to Megan. And well, let's talk about it. My lessons with John tab is pages long, but I think there is something to say here, and that is lack of conflict, lack of teeth. And the lack of conflict, he said, is really most egregious when it comes to Megan. Like, she really comes to see Natalie and falls in love with Alejandra, and the big reveal is that she works for Big Coffee, but she wasn't actively doing anything to harm the shop. It's just she lied about where she works. That really doesn't have a lot of teeth in it. And I was very much like, but morally I would disagree. And she's like, and he was like, yeah, well, that isn't active enough. And I was like, you're right. The second thing he said is that I really took away a lot of Alejandra's desire for identity and becoming herself. Alejandra coming out as gay isn't just, it's a queer story. It's really about her coming to terms that she's been doing everything in her life to please her mom and the expectations that her mother placed on her, and then trying to find a voice of her own. And that is reflected by her coming out as gay. It's not, those things are tied together. They're not just like side dishes to her coffee shop problem or to her falling in love problem. In every single version of this show, I have struggled with Alejandra being an active participant in her life. Sure, the version that I wrote for this that I submitted is the one that where she is most active, but it's certainly not active enough. If I'm having Megan be my favorite character because her wants or needs are very clear and not my main character, then I need to fix that, and he made that very, very clear. Some suggestions he made is follow the story through Alejandra's point of view. Now, as someone with a very clinical brain that doesn't know how to write a plot, he very much was like, you don't even have a plot. You have a collection of themes and beats that you want, but no actual plot that will lead one thing to another. Let me tell you, it was rough, but he was absolutely correct, per usual. And so for the first time, I admitted to John, hey, I don't actually know how to write myself out of the gray areas that I want to explore. And so with that, see you in part 4. So if you've been following me here for a while, you know that I have rewritten this story, these characters in different settings, with the coffee shop always kind of being the centerpiece, for 6 months, over 6 months now. And outside of myself, I really think the next person who knows it just as well as me is John. We have talked through every draft I've ever worked on, and I was essentially like, there are darker themes I want to explore, but I am personally so conflicted writing myself out of those spots. I actually need some guidance. And so, like a good writing workshop, he helped me through that. We started taking the best parts of every draft I've ever written and putting them into one functioning outline. We have completely mapped out Act 1, and Act 2 is pretty much there too. Like, it's going to happen. He said, you can get some mileage out of this new Michael-Megan relationship. Like, he's Megan's friend at the office. They're a duo. They're trying to get Alejandra to sell Café con Leche to Big Coffee because they don't care that she just opened her shop, right? What if her 30 before 30, the last thing on her checklist was to open the coffee shop, and now she's settled everything down and now she has time for love, and then bam, Big Coffee walks in? What if Javier is the ex-boyfriend that she broke up with because she knew she wasn't going to be able to accomplish everything she wanted if she got married to him? But her mom, in meddling and being a busybody and having her own ideas of what Alejandra should be and have before she turns 30, brings him back into her life. And he's just like, oh, I guess you've accomplished everything just like you've said. Maybe we can work something out now. And that's what makes her realize that she loves Megan. It's the fact that sparks are not flying with Javier, but during the day when she hangs out with Megan, they are. What if it's an enemies to lovers that she doesn't even know she's in? What if Megan becomes the only regular at this recently opened failing coffee shop, and she was there to spy and make sure that it fails so Big Coffee can get this for cheap, and it turns out that she can't stop herself from helping because she's a businesswoman first, and then she ends up helping and falling in love and learning Spanish at the coffee shop that she needs to bring down? What if Alejandra cheats on Javier after they get engaged, and the courage to be with Megan is there, but once Megan is presented with the possibility that Big Coffee is going to ruin everything, and she asks Alejandra, hey, let's make what we have real, Alejandra doesn't do that, and that's what leads to the betrayal. What if Rosa always knew that Alejandra was gay and is trying to prevent that from happening by bringing Javier back into her life, by making Javier propose, by having Javier walk into Megan and Alejandra having an intimacy, a connection, not like a kissing or anything. And all of a sudden, it starts getting serious. See you in part 5 for the wrap-up. If you are watching this vlog and haven't watched the previous ones, you're going to be so lost. But for those of you who are here, let's jump into it. Javier proposes. Alejandra does some gray area shit she would never done, but then she takes it back. She's like, I can never give up and not live up to the expectations. The betrayal gets found. Both Alejandra betrays Megan. Megan betrays her. The coffee shop is there. It's going to be lost. Then Rosa comes in with the deus ex machina of, okay, I will absolutely save the coffee shop, but you have to marry Javier because you cannot fall in love with a woman. And Alejandra realizes, no, I have to be true to myself above all. I'm willing to lose this dream to be true to myself. And then we have Megan realizing that in her loneliness, in the rat race. She lost everything and she found community here for the first time in her life. So we're going to be cutting a lot of scenes that I spent a lot of time writing, a lot of time figuring out. The religious aspect is going to get cut down. It's going to be more in the way that Alejandra talks to her dad, the way that her mom, Rosa, prays to her dead husband, the way that she, lights a candle to her little altar. It's going to be presented in those ways. Visual, show rather than tell in a way. They fell in love despite serving different gods, with Megan being conflicted of falling in love with Alejandra and then serving Big Coffee, and with Alejandra falling in love with Megan and serving her mother's wishes, or God in that sense. All of the sudden, the story gets so much bite, so much punch. Even Javier, the character himself, comes to the realization that, yeah, Alejandra wants to break off the engagement. I don't want to be with you anymore. And he's just like, I'm so happy that I learned this from you, because I would have wasted my time being with you. I deserve better. There is power to a man knowing that. And it's so transgressive in several ways. I brought up dodgeball when talking with John because, Megan is giving that accountant who helps Vince Vaughn vibes. But also, I recently watched this movie. It's great. And I love the way that they handled this character right here, the Marine. I thought it was a great way to wrap up kind of the engagement story and the fact she falls in love with the farmer. It's a great, great rom-com. But all these things that I've been watching recently have been influential. Now, of course, there are tropes in romance, and I am inspired by watching a lot of this other stuff, but that doesn't mean that my characters aren't my own and that I'm not writing something original. Nothing is original, everything is influenced by something, and yet I feel very strongly about these characters, and I can't wait to keep writing later today. I'm tapping out early because I've been up for so long and I am dying. That's the joke, it doesn't work. Bye, vlog. Goodbye. I lasted for 58 minutes. It is currently 4:03 p.m. on the 6th. So I did freshen up for the stream, and I was going to continue working by taking John's notes, putting them in my actual notebook for the musical, and then continue working on the outline. But as someone said in the chat earlier, my brain is Swiss cheese. I am exhausted. Sure, I made a very strong cup of tea, but I have been actively working since midnight today, and then I woke up at 7 and to continue to work on this, and it's just been 6 to 7 hours of constant work on the musical today, and I have no more space, no more energy left in me. At least, not if I don't take a nap. So even though I only have 4 days left, and I know I'm probably going to have to make edits to my recordings and my actual sheet music and stuff like that, I feel pretty comfortable calling it, at least for right now, We have a really strong start. We have a really strong place for this musical to go, and with a nap and some rest, maybe I can get some work done in it. Maybe I can get some more work done on it tonight, but if I don't, I'm just going to work all day tomorrow and it'll be just as good. So yeah, today's one of those days where I'm pretty much vlogging the entirety of the day, and after being gone for a while, I realized just how important it is to keep vlogging, and even though it does take away from some of the mental prowess and energy that I have to work on the show, I definitely don't regret making these vlogs because I get to watch back and know exactly where I am, and that's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. So anyway, I'm hoping to see you later, but if I don't, then I'll see you tomorrow where we'll be working on the show some more. It's so close, I can